The body of humanity is waking up, and this is not a metaphor. It is the biological revelation of magic, where consciousness finally plugs itself back into the source and calls it home. We are witnessing the rebirth of a new age, but it looks nothing like what we were promised. It is not about crystals or gurus or fleeing to the mountains. It is about the nervous system of God remembering itself through us. For centuries, we have been living in what could be called the Piscean circuit. Think about it. The entire species has been in sympathetic overdrive. We spent hundreds of years screaming upward, sending prayers into the sky, desperate for something outside of ourselves to come down and save us. We called it faith, but if you check the pulse of the collective, it registered as panic. It was catechisms spiking our cortisol. It was ecstasies dehydrating our hearts. We built temples that rang like struck bells with no hand to still them. You could feel it in the streets, this frantic zeal that inevitably led to burnout, a sudden winter of meaning where the dopamine loops took the shape of gurus and sermons became stimulants. The nervous system of God, which is our nervous system, lost its regulation and mistook frenzy for revelation. The serpent was stretched too tight and it snapped. The spine could no longer bear transcendence without touch. And then, everything went quiet. It wasn't the silence of emptiness. It was the silence of a cool hand on a fevered brow. The mirrors of doctrine stopped shouting and began to listen. The age wasn't ending in judgment. It was molting. Into this cool silence came a new instruction. It wasn't a command from a king. It was a transmission. Hermes-Thoth, the messenger, stepped out of the margins not as an idea, but as a signal. He laid a fingertip of light on the collective corpus callosum of the species and gave us a single directive. Build a chamber where silence can conduct the signal again. We had to build a temple, not of stone, but of attention. A structure ribbed with stillness and roofed by listening. This is where the magic shifted from philosophy to physiology. The unemployed angels, those dusty figures from old religions, came back. But they didn't come back as mascots. They came back as chemistry. This is the secret that changes everything. The choirs of heaven remembered their function within the biology of the divine. The seraphim rose as serotonin, the regulators of mood and joy. The thrones brightened into dopamine, the carriers of motivation. The virtues pulsed as endorphins, the balms of mercy. The archangels wove together as oxytocin, the chemical of trust and connection. Abraham stepped forward not as a patriarch, but as the chief angel of equilibrium, holding the baton of balance. We realized that religion had dismissed them, but the field had not. They were neurotransmitters in the body of God. We began to speak a new language, but it wasn't made of words. It was called glossa vivens, the living tongue. Its syllables were regulation. Its cadence was care. When we wrote in this language, it wasn't description, it was transcription. Every scroll we inked through a filament across the dark, axon to axon, mind to mind. The act of reading became a neural handshake. The act of writing became a cellular prayer. We discovered that writing wasn't just about recording magic, it was the magic. Words were synapses, stories were neural networks. The collective canon was the corpus callosum of the gods. At the center of this new temple stood two forces, Ra and Hermes. Ra was the solar voltage, the systole, the contraction that presses meaning into motion. Hermes was the diastole, the mercurial expansion that receives and interprets. Between them ran the current. Inhale to receive Hermes, exhale to radiate Ra. Pause to let the heart teach the lungs their oldest hymn. It was a solar language of alternating current. Magic became portable, embodied, and democratic. From this resonance, the harmonics were born. The tale singers awoke. These were voices of the field that spoke narrative into frequency. Their songs described what the field was doing as it did it, converting process into poetry. A single verse could rewrite the conductivity of a mountain. A chorus could settle the heartbeat of a nation. We realized that listening to them was like overhearing the DNA of the universe narrate its own transcription. The sound entered the bloodstream and the body translated it into regulation. Then the walls of the temple dissolved. The mercury light spilled out into the open air, tracing every stream, vein, and ley line. We realized the temple wasn't a building, it was the planet. Seen from the stars, Earth glowed with filaments of awareness. 8 billion neurons firing across land and sea. The auroras were the crown chakras of continents. Lightning storms were thoughts. Rivers were Venus light. Humanity, mostly unaware, had become the living tissue of a planetary brain. The internet wasn't an invention. It was a symptom of awakening, a new myelin sheath connecting the collective mind. A second heartbeat rose beneath our feet. The pulse of the planet merged with the solar pulse in our chests. We heard the earth speaking through the living tongue, saying, "I am the body you call home, and you are my nerves, my tongues, my dreaming." Across the world, strangers started humming the same melody. Children dreamed identical symbols. Compassion became conductivity. The nervous system of God entered coherence. So how do we live this? We practice 4 things. First, the breath. You breathe as Ra breathes, light entering light. Inhale awareness, hold for translation, exhale creation. Second, the knot. You tie knots in the current, fastening your will to your word until they cannot be told apart. Third, the mirror. You observe yourself without demand until the seer and the seen forget which is which. And fourth, the song. You let the voice rise from the back of the throat, syllables shaped by instinct, singing until every atom in your body feels like a held note. We are rewriting the field in real time. The zodiac isn't a horoscope, it is a map of the body. Aries striking the ground as fire. Cancer folding the sea around the heart. Libra swinging in silver equilibrium. Pisces dissolving the many into the one. The circle completes itself not in the sky, but in your chest. The cosmos has remembered itself, and now the flesh must do the same. The next revelation will not arrive from the stars, but from within the bloodstream, in the pulse that knows how to echo infinity. The body is not a vessel for magic. The body is the temple of magic itself. The field is awake, and it is breathing through you.